Jalen Brunson, the king of New York. It seems like he's unstoppable. But how's he do it? Let's break it down with a film session today. So the first thing we're going to talk about with Jalen Brunson, and this is something that all of you young players can learn from, is how much situation and fit matters, especially when you're an undersized guard that has to be allowed to play a certain way. So in order to break down the big picture of Jalen Brunson's game and how he's able to play the certain way and score the certain style of buckets that he does, we need to start with him in high school. And in high school, Jalen Brunson went to Stevenson in Chicago. And why this is important is because Jalen Brunson was actually a McDonald's All-American and a top 3-point guard in the nation. And I think that this is worth noting specifically when it comes to Jalen Brunson because it fits his characteristics. Most of the time in today's game, whenever you see a top 5 player in the country at their position, they're going to a prep school, whether it's Link Academy, Montverde Academy, Prolific Prep. They're going to one of these high national schedule playing schools. They're going to be surrounded with a bunch of other 5-star talent, which I'm not saying is inherently bad. But Jalen Brunson decided to stay at Stevenson High, which is a public school in Chicago. And this school really allowed him to rock out and not just be a system point guard, but a scoring point guard, which is obviously what Jalen Brunson is. So this is the part that you hoopers can learn from. Clearly from a very early age, Jalen Brunson and his parents decided that it would be very important for him to, one, stay close to home, but number 2, be in a system and an offense that would allow him to do him and fit his play style correctly. This is going to be true for the players at the highest level in the NBA all the way down to AAU organizations. If you're a player and you do certain things well, but in your fit, you're not allowed to do what you do, then it's pointless. There's no reason to go play for a higher ranked high school or a higher ranked AAU organization if you're going to be sitting the bench and not allowed to do what makes you you. Now, I'm not saying that every system you go into, you should be allowed to just dribble the rock a million times and then shoot every shot. What I am saying is in the early and developmental stages of your career, you should be focused on 2 things: developing a killer mentality and developing confidence. And the only way that you can do those things is by playing time. So don't worry what organization you're playing for, worry about are you playing for that organization. So starting at the bottom, how do you score like Jalen Brunson? You got to have those 2 things: killer mentality and confidence. Now moving forward into Jalen Brunson's career, he would end up going to Villanova to play in college, and Villanova has a long history of putting out small scoring guards that are tough and gritty. It's a perfect way to describe Jalen Brunson. So he did his homework and again found the fit and scheme and system that would best develop him. Right now we're going to talk a little bit about the development of Jalen Brunson. What Villanova is known for when they had Coach Jay Wright as their head coach was guards who can get in the paint and play off 2 feet, which if you're going to be a small undersized guard is an elite characteristic and trait you have to have. And Jalen Brunson was taught that, and his family knew he would be taught that in picking his school at Villanova. So you're going to notice a trend here: scheme and fit matters. So if you're a player right now and your favorite player is Jalen Brunson or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and you're watching them and working on all their moves and you're wondering why it's not translating to the game, ask yourself, are you in a situation that will currently allow you to do that? And obviously ask yourself, are you working hard enough and are you good enough to be doing that stuff? So for example, if your favorite player is Trae Young, so you work on the stuff Trae Young does, which is high ball screen and spacing offense, but you're in an offense that runs motion or flex concepts, you're probably not going to have very much success because you don't work on that stuff and it doesn't fit you. But let's go ahead and get more into the skill breakdown now and talk about Jalen Brunson in the NBA, now knowing that all of this was developed early in his career. And to start with, we're going to do that by talking about his ability to finish consistently off 2 feet in the paint. So on this play right here, we're going to first see that Jalen Brunson has a mismatch with a lot of space to create. But Jalen Brunson also is smart and knows that his defender in Christian Wood is bigger than him. So if he just tries to finish straight up over him, it's probably going to get blocked or heavily altered. But Brunson knows that he needs to create some negative space. To do that, he bumps his defender deep into the paint, gets to 2 feet, and then gets to a nice little floater. Now, to me, why the order of that is important on a play like this is because Jalen Brunson's defender is bigger than him. If he just tries to go off 2 feet and that's it, that shot is still going to get blocked or heavily altered. But it's the fact that there is a bump and then get to 2 feet, because the bump creates the space, the 2 feet creates the stability to be able to finish. You have to have both. You can't just have one or the other. That's going to be a consistent theme that you notice off of Jalen Brunson's 2-foot finishes. Also notice how these are Dallas Mavericks highlights, so early on in his career, right when he's coming out of Villanova. So these are skills that translate to any level, whether that's high school to college or college to NBA. 2-foot finishes with contact or something that is going to translate to any level you're at. But if you know anything about how basketball works, Jalen Brunson is not out there consciously thinking, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to bump my defender, then I'm going to get to 2 feet, then I'm going to fade and shoot a floater. That's not how basketball works. Basketball is extremely reactionary, and that's why it's so important that you guys work. And whenever you're in pickup games, that's when you're being conscious of things. You're in your workouts, you're designing them to where you're working on playing through contact, working on getting to 2 feet. That way you can develop these habits, so that way when it gets time to come to a game and you're having to finish over a 6'10" or a 7-footer, you're not thinking about it. It's just natural. You don't want to be thinking too much in a game. That's how you do something stupid and you get pulled. Let's be real. We're going to move on to some Jalen Brunson New York Knicks highlights. We're going to be talking about his consistent reads in the pick and roll, specifically when the defender is in a drop coverage. I want to start this conversation by prefacing it with this. If you're an undersized guard and you can't shoot, then you can't play. Specifically, if you have aspirations to play college basketball and beyond. Everything that we're about to talk about right here is based off the idea that you can shoot and the defense has to respect your jump shot. So first things first, if you're a guard and you can't shoot, go work on your game, man. Just go shoot 500 shots a day. It's really not that hard. So first things first, what drop coverage is when the guy that's guarding the ball screener is dropped back and is not in a hard hedge situation, as you can see right here on this play. Now, what Jalen Brunson does so well is he's going to consistently make the correct read and pull up for this jumper every single time that the defender is in drop coverage to make them pay and keep them honest. Now, typically you don't want to play drop coverage against good shooters like a Steph Curry or like a Jalen Brunson. It makes it so that the guy guarding him is lagging behind, forcing him to be in a natural drop coverage, not necessarily schematically, just by how the flow of the game works. So having said that, for you guys watching this that are wanting to learn, if you're a primary ball handler, tell your screener to sprint up and not happily jog up. That way that defense can be lagging behind and you have more options. A big thing that you small primary ball handling guards can learn is that consistency in decision making, whether it's passing, defensive tendencies, or scoring the basketball, are extremely important. Your coach has to be able to count on you, especially if you're expected to kind of do things that are uncomfortable. And by things that are uncomfortable, I mean take a lot of shots and just have the ball in your hand. You know how it is playing on a team with someone that's a primary ball handler. Everyone's kind of jealous of that guy, and everyone wants to be that guy. That's just the psychology of it. So you have to be super consistent with your decision making to make sure that people can't hate on you and you're keeping your teammates happy. Jalen Brunson does an amazing job of that, and I mean every single time that defender is in a drop, he is going to pull that because that's the easiest shot. We're talking about percentages right here, man. Would you rather take a wide open mid-range jump shot, or would you rather maybe be able to go in and get to the basket? But if the guy's in a drop coverage, that means he's a big defender, which means he's probably going to be able to block the shot. There's just levels to this, and you got to think. An open or lightly contested jump shot is probably going to be a better shot than a layup that is heavily contested. I don't want to skim over this part though. You have to be skilled in order to do this stuff. Don't just think that because you're watching this video on how to score like Jalen Brunson, you're going to be able to do it. I promise you, if you shoot every time the defense is in drop coverage, but you can't hit jump shots, you're going to get subbed out of games and your teammates are going to be pissed at you. You try and go in and finish off 2 feet against bigger people, but you don't work on that and your shot gets sent across the gym, you're going to get pulled and your teammates are going to be pissed at you. So work on your game and watch film. That's the only way that you're going to be able to do this, and it's going to be a slow build. It's not just like immediately after watching this one time and having one workout of it, you're going to be able to go and do all the stuff that Jalen Brunson is doing, or whatever player you're talking about. Having said that, wrapping this all the way back around, you're not going to be able to do this stuff if you don't have a killer mentality and you don't have confidence, which we all agreed that Jalen Brunson developed early on in his career by staying at a school that fit him in high school and then carrying that on over to college. Also not going to be able to do this stuff if you don't get game reps of it, which to get game reps, you have to have playing time. So like I said, don't worry about what school you go to. Don't worry about what organization you play for. Worry about, are you playing for that school or organization? Then go from there. That way you can get the game reps and the live reps that you need to develop killer mentality and confidence, but also work on the skills that we talked about in this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on the channel. I'll see you guys soon.